Good morning. It is a Wednesday morning. It's a little bit chilly over here in Washington State. I am so excited to be doing this one this morning. Gigi, she's been a featured guest, a featured Latina before. So let me read a little bit about her. Gabriela Teresa Gigi Gonzalez is a criminal defense attorney in Miami. And she earned a bachelor's degree in digital media communications from Florida International University. Shortly after, Gigi pursued her dreams and earned her JD from Florida AMU University College of Law, class of 2017. Gigi is a frequent guest on Law and Crime Network, where she provides a real-time legal analysis on live trials throughout the nation. So Gigi is going to be joining us here in a little bit, and we're going to be talking about taking courage in Corona. So during this time, I know it's very difficult. She'll be giving some tips and advice on the legal field, being an attorney, being a law student, a little bit about those who are studying for the LSAT, and much more. So here, stick around and join us. I'm gonna pin the note here so people know what we're talking about today. While we are waiting, if you are a graduating law student or you know one, or a college student, please, and it could be any degree, please let them know to join our online celebration for the Latina online celebration. Which will be a video for them to see and for them to share with their families, and the link, especially since a lot of schools are postponing the graduations or they are doing an online one. So make sure that you share that with them. And for those who just recently took the bar exam and passed, or those who just recently in the spring found out the results and they passed, we're going to be celebrating you as for the Esquire celebration. I know that some states are doing virtual ceremonies, and for that, and for those who may have it postponed, we still want to recognize you, either if that's a post that we'll be doing about you, like a story, or joining our video celebration. So just email me at latinastories@gmail.com. And if you guys have any questions, if you'd like to be featured or you want to join the guest writer program and write a couple of blog posts for our page, you'll be giving back to the community, and it's just so great to be able to have this platform for everyone to learn from each other.
Hello. Sorry about that.
No problem. It's okay.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. I definitely woke up with a lot more energy than I did on Monday. On Monday, my energy was so low.
All right, I hear you. I put extra sugar in my coffee today. I wanted to be on my A game because my energy has been so low too. Like, I've got to pull it out of a hat. I don't know where it comes from because it's not being authentic lately.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm loving the trees in the back. Oh, they're so beautiful.
Thank you. You know what? It's a gorgeous day. I'm out in Miami, and it feels like a sin to not spend the day outside when it's this gorgeous. And it's even a little breezy. It's not too hot.
Yeah.
So I'm loving it. Yeah.
We finally started getting some sunshine over here, but today is a gloomy day. So outside my window is just very grayish. It's like the opposite of where you are.
You know, sometimes I almost prefer it because then I don't feel so bad staying inside, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
like if it's gloomy and rainy outside, I'd rather be watching TV in bed. I don't want to be out. But when the sun's out and I can't go to the beach, it's like, I don't know. It's a special type of punishment.
Yeah, I definitely love Florida. It's one of my favorite states. So.
Oh, nice. Well, next time you come down to Miami, you're going to have to hit me up and we can grab real cafecitos.
Yeah, my husband and I are go back. We actually spent our honeymoon there. So that was pretty awesome.
Nice.
Actually, the coldest it had ever been when we were over there. It was like 100 degrees and the hotel didn't have heating.
Oh my God, what a scam. I'm so sorry. It never gets cold here. I swear it doesn't. That's too funny. Oh my gosh. Well, I think that qualifies you for a rain check. So you might be able to right,
We'll
to
have to
go on
come
a future
for
date.
sure. Well, I'm so happy to talk to you today. I know that we had a chance to talk yesterday, so it was so nice to get to know you a little bit more. And today I introduced you a little bit earlier. So for those that are tuning in just now, we're talking to Gigi. She is the criminal defense attorney, and she is going to be talking about taking courage during this time, during the COVID-19 time, during the Corona time. So we'll be asking her questions. Feel free to drop some questions in those comment boxes. Anything that you would like to ask our guest today, or something that we can start discussing, and we'll hopefully we'll be having more people join us here in a little bit more. Awesome. So I know that you're coming from Miami, which is awesome. How are things over there in your state though during this time?
Florida is one of those special states that always ends up in the news for something, right?
Yeah.
I can't the on the ground level, everyone's taking this very serious, which is good. A lot of people are practicing social distancing. The restaurants are closed, the bars are closed, the beaches are closed, so the city's shut down. It's very quiet these days. Miami-Dade County just surpassed 10,000 cases, so we are definitely going through the thick of it.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm going to stay positive. Hopefully, we are able to plateau and, kind of hit our peak soon. That way, we can start trying to figure out how to return to normal life, whatever normal is going to be after this.
Yeah, yeah. Same over here. Everything closed over here pretty quickly. And I was wondering what was going to happen because parks here are still open in some other states, like Florida, the beaches are closed, and all their other states, a lot of their parks may be closed. And for us, it's like you can still go, like the dog park's still open. You can still go and walk around, but I think it just depends on the amount of population that you have. And definitely Vancouver is a much smaller city than Miami is.
Oh yeah. And let me tell they're actually I know city by city they're talking about opening the beaches for recreational activities the way you described, the same way the national parks are open up in Vancouver.
Hmm.
What the fear is though is that everyone will come out at the same time to enjoy those privileges,
Yeah,
right? So I can totally understand wanting to go to get your walk at the beach. I don't even remember the last time I didn't go to the beach. It's been a while. But
yeah,
when everybody has that cabin fever and you've got millions of citizens all heading to the beach to walk and jog and hit the bridge at the same time, it's almost like, is this even productive? Are we doing the right thing here? We're trying to slow this down, but at the same time, we're encouraging everybody to go outside and be on top of each other. Is this going to slow progress? That's the
yeah.
concern, so.
Yeah. And I know that in some like other countries, like we talked to our friend from England last time, and she said that they are allowed to have one recreational time out of their house. So they can only go out once and then come back in. So they can
Oh boy.
go
So you
out
better make
for
the
a run.
best of it.
Yeah. And I was just like, well, there's some interesting ways that they're trying to make sure that people are just not spreading this too fast. So I
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's also a lot of legal minds are trying to discuss like what does this mean? There's no precedent to some of this stuff, and um, as we saw some rallies coming up, like in some other more conservative states, which I personally don't agree with,
Yeah.
because my fear is like my parents who are older. I think a lot of other people feel that way. Those who are higher risk, but I wonder how this is all going to play out with if someone is trying to take any of this stuff to court. So
Oh, I hear you. I mean, could you though? Would you have like you definitely have noticed that you have this pandemic, right?
yeah,
That is causing this pretty deadly disease to all classes of people, and not only high risk people, but young people too are being
yeah,
affected and dying from this virus. So you're definitely put on notice. You're choosing to ignore that notice and engaging in risky activity anyway. And then
yes,
you contract the virus at your own notice that you could have contracted if you were partaking in that risky activity. That's going to be a tough one. And
yeah,
what I find especially interesting with these rallies is that they are protesting in favor of the administration, even though it's the administration that is putting these restrictions on them. So I almost feel like, who are you mad at? Because on
That
one
really
hand,
makes sense.
your
Yeah.
boy is the one that, implemented, these policies to keep us all hunkered down and secure for a little bit. But at the same time, you're protesting them, but you're also wearing their gear and their colors and their shirts. So it's pretty confusing what these rallies are even about, to be honest.
They are. And here's
It.
the I think I coming, moving, I think I talked to you about like moving to a different state and just seeing the difference between like Oregon, Washington versus the Midwest, which where I came from, Indiana. And it shows a really big difference. I know that people were rallying in front of the governor's office. I'm just like, whoa, like it didn't make sense to me, but
Yeah.
it's different over here. So
I what I try to do when I see these types of situations, I just try to understand where they're coming from, right? Because, I don't think anybody would willingly expose themselves to something that they actually believe in. So I don't know if it's whether they're not getting access to correct information that's allowing them to make properly informed decisions, or
yeah.
that they are so stir crazy in their house, like they've lost their jobs, they've lost health insurance, they're living with people that are driving them up a wall. They are so up against the wall that they feel like they have no other choice but to rally. I try to understand the motivation behind why people do things.
Yeah.
But this one's got me scratching my head a little bit, Cindy. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, let's move forward, I guess, into kind of talking. I know that we have a lot of law students and attorneys, that the majority of our audience, but we also do have some pre-law students, so we might get some questions. And we're kind of just talking about taking courage during this time. And so if you can just kind of tell us like a little bit more about yourself, and then kind of how going into how you're taking courage during this time. So can you tell us like what are some struggles that you're facing right now, before or after? Let's talk about that a little bit.
So okay, so a little bit about me. I'm Gigi Gonzalez. I graduated from Florida A&M University College of Law in 2017. I have been practicing criminal defense since April 2018 here in Miami, Florida. I absolutely love it. We've got a family business here. My dad's a criminal defense attorney also. My mom's the office manager, and my younger sister now, she's completing her second year of law school at Florida International University here. So, we have a lot of fun with the law. We have a lot of fun practicing the law, and I'm very blessed to be able to do what I do with my family. So it really is fantastic. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm struggling in a special kind of way with this whole pandemic.
Yeah.
I don't think that's unique to me. I think most people are really trying to wrap their heads around this new reality that we're faced with. And, I think what makes it so difficult, and I've been talking to my girlfriends about this, is the uncertainty. It's the unknown of the situation because, like when you're studying for the bar, you have, certain timelines. Like you're definitely stressed. You're definitely, wishing you were somewhere else, right? You might be wishing that you're 2 months locked away the way we are now, and then you're kind of regretting it, right?
Yeah.
But, but at least there's a timeline. You understand that, okay, you know what, on July 24th, I'm going to be finished with this exam. So all I've got to do is put in 10 weeks worth of hard, vigorous effort, and I will be done with this. Whereas this situation, we're putting in, a lot of mental effort. Even if we're not actively thinking about coronavirus, it's in the back of our minds, and we're definitely restricted in what we can and cannot do. And being able to fight through that mental struggle, without a set timeline at the end of it, it's hard, So there's some days where I'm able to motivate myself and get things done and just check things off my list that I've created. But then there's other days where like it's really hard to get out of bed,
Yeah.
So I think what's really important in this time is to practice patience with ourselves and understand that this is a situation that is unique to anybody that's alive right now. All right. Unless you're one of the very few people who happened to survive the Spanish flu and also coronavirus, right? Like, which it's amazing you're on Instagram. I hope that you send a wave or something so that we could celebrate you. But otherwise, you've never dealt with anything even close to this, right? This
Yeah.
is a serious pandemic that has shut down the entire world. You know, people have lost their jobs. People have lost their family members, their routines, their positive mental spaces. So, you know, it really is a difficult time. So what's important is patience.
Yes.
You know, patience with ourselves, patience with the situation, because quite frankly, we don't know how it's going to play out, how exactly our lives are going to look like after this, right? Because I can imagine we're not going to get the news bulletin that says, "Hey everyone, on July 30th, we're home free. Everyone go out and party and go to concerts and go to football games like you used to." Everything. So I don't see that happening. You know, even here
Yeah.
in Florida, in Miami-Dade County, we've been talking about how we're going to be reopening the court systems, and you know, it's been a conversation about adapting to Zoom and adapting to virtual hearings. You know, they're not talking about, okay, just push your case to July and we'll figure it out then. They're talking about, hey, listen, learn how to deal with people on the virtual level, learn how to dress for online court, learn how to navigate through Zoom, because that is how we're going to be interacting for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's definitely you know, it's hard to grapple with that. Like, I know this is a grim conversation. I don't want it to be grim, but what's also going to make this process easier is understanding the reality, being honest with what's in front of us, so that we could make decisions as to how to proceed forward. You know, we can't, this is the uncontrollable, right? When we're talking about patience and kindness and controlling what we can control, this is one of those things that you absolutely cannot. It's a virus. Like, who knows how there's no negotiating with it. There's no, trying to get it to come see eye to eye with us. No compromises, nothing. This is a virus that we've just got to work through. So what's important is, you know, understanding what we can control and trying to work with the inevitable,
Yeah.
working with this understanding that, okay, this is what it is. This is a serious virus. This is going to shut us down for at least the next couple of months. What efforts can I make every day to make sure I come out of this and in as best a piece as possible? I don't want to say one piece, because if you can get to this side in any sort of pieces, that's going to be a success. But
Yeah.
what can we do to make sure that we are doing the best we can? You know, that's, I think, so important for ourselves, right? Being patient with ourselves, and making sure that we're setting reasonable goals for ourselves. Me personally, courts are shut down. There's not a lot I can do, so I'm effectively like out of work. So, you know, now I've got to think about, you know, when I think about my life before, it was all right. So 9 a.m. I'm in court, and by 11:30 I'm out, and then I'm going to go visit somebody in jail, or maybe I'm going to make a television appearance, or maybe I'm going to meet with clients. I'm definitely going to get a workout in at the end of the day. But my day just kept running like that. So to go from that to, let's get out of bed at 9 and maybe we'll watch some Tiger King. Yeah, that's a hard transition. Like, it is really hard. I mean, it wasn't hard to watch Tiger King, but it was hard to grapple my mind around watching Tiger King on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah. Wow. It's very different. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
different.
And I think maybe, and I know that we talked about like the law doesn't really stop. So with the system in Florida right now, are the courts are still there? Are they still hearing cases on Zoom? Are they still proceeding as usual? What does that look like right now? Not that your day doesn't look the same anymore, and especially with your work. So what's the difference right now?
So right now the courts are listening to essential cases only, which, I mean, kind of sounds a little counterintuitive, because you would think that every case is essential, and
Yeah.
they are. but there are certain hearings that are absolute fundamentals, right? So your right to a first appearance. You know, if you pick up a felony, you have the right to be heard within 24 hours to determine a reasonable bond for you, right? That's not going
Yeah.
to shut down. So what that looks like now, that's virtual. So you call in and you make your argument, and for the most part, considering this pandemic, unless it's a very violent crime with very strong evidence, they are going to set bonds for people because they also don't want a high population in prison and in jails. You know,
Hmm.
that's an incubator for these types of viruses. And if one person gets it, it's like a bunch of matches getting lit on fire at the same time. It becomes a very uncontrollable situation. So
Yeah.
they're making sure to get people out of custody as fast as they can. Um, but things like soundings, reports, status conferences, those are either pushed or they're dealt with virtually. And trials they're trying to move now. Like I took a webinar on Monday where they're talking about traffic court. So what traffic court will look like, for example, it's going to be a hearing officer, and then you call in at a certain time, and whatever witnesses were there, they'll call in at a certain time, and that's how they're going to move forward with virtual courts, with virtual trial courts. And I'm sure, minus physical evidence that needs to be brought in, I can imagine that's going to be the trend moving forward in civil and criminal courts for the foreseeable future. Because I mean, there's only so long we can pause trials, right? I
Yeah.
mean, here we've been able to pause the speedy trials.
Hmm.
So as of March 22nd, they're basically like on timeout, and once courts go back to, okay, we're moving at capacity, they pick right back up as if no time had passed. But if you have the right to a speedy trial and things are moving, but I've got physical evidence that I have to bring into court, or there's essential witnesses that don't know how to use technology, how are we going to get through that? So those are some of the struggles that the judges and court personnel here are struggling with. But I'm really lucky in Miami-Dade County. The judges have been fantastic. They've been really on top of it. We've already had multiple webinars on how we can best navigate the situation. So everyone's working really hard to resolve this issue.
Hmm.
But like you said earlier, this is a completely unpredictable situation. So everyone's just scrambling at this point.
Wow. I think it's just a really good perspective to see how that's playing out because I mean, we all hope that us or anyone, none of our family members ever get into criminal law, like type of situation where they're the ones that committed something, but you also kind of want to know, like, what is that looking like, especially if we have any law students who are considering criminal law and they've never seen this happen. And I don't know, God willing, they don't have to see this happen again in their lifetime while they're attorneys, but this is this is a whole different.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a curveball. If I had to describe
Life.
one, this is that. I like to tell like anybody when they find out I'm a criminal defense lawyer, they're like, I hope I never need you. I was like, I hope I never need you either, but you know who to call when you do. Criminal law is one of those. It's one of those laws that that you're not really. No one's really committing robberies every week. Like I'm not the type of person that you need me, right? Like on a dime, any time. But when you do find yourself in a pinch, that's when criminal lawyers really get their shine.
Yeah.
And I think in this situation, it's kind of this. It's interesting to observe criminal law during these, you know, crazy points in history, right? Because you would think that more people kept indoors, there would be less crime. So we're seeing that data play out, but actually there's a rise in domestic violence cases. Like people are fighting their family members and they're going
Yeah.
berserk, or like you also get a lot of like stalking issues because you're bored in the house and you're just trying to figure like follows. I don't know what motivates people to stalk, but there's a rise in those types of crimes too. So it's interesting to see what types of crimes will continue to um, kind of play out and go on the rise during this epidemic, and which ones will kind of subside. Because everyone's
Yeah.
locked inside. No one can really move. So it's
Hmm.
it's one of those laws that areas of law that really breathe with society, and it's going to be interesting to see a how criminal law is practiced in the new normal, and also like what kind of crimes are going to be on the rise when we come out of this.
Mhm. And I know you mentioned webinars and kind of what you're doing to keep on top of your new skills that you're developing as a you're doing court through Zoom or anything like that. But can you give us some recommendations on how we can maybe sharpen some of the skills that we need in the legal field during this time? If they're new attorneys or upcoming like law students who maybe are not sure what to do, how to find internships or anything like that, what can they maybe possibly do during this time?
It's always a great idea to make yourself as well-rounded as possible. Right now, if you're a student, you're in finals mode. So I suggest you just like dig your nose into these books and use this opportunity, this gift of time to really just get into the nitty gritty, right? When I was in law school, I was always distracted. I tell people I had to go all the way to Orlando because if I stayed in Miami, I don't think I would have finished law school. I would have been so distracted. Where here, there's very few let me rephrase that because there are new types of distractions, but you don't have that same type of FOMO or there's a whole world happening outside here and I'm stuck inside. You know, you're definitely going to be challenged. Like we talked about earlier, you have these mental barriers that now we have to work through because of the stress of this virus. We also have to, if we're quarantined with family members, we also have to learn how to replicate our study habits in this new environment where people want to watch TV or other people are also working and there's also dogs that want to go outside, and it's just that's a special kind of stress. Or on the flip side, you live all by yourself and you have no one to help you out, and you're all
Yeah.
you're alone and you're trying to work through this very stressful, difficult time all by yourself. It's tough. So I don't want to discount you know that aspect because there's definitely difficulties associated with not being able to leave your house, but you just understanding and working with the inevitable and understanding that we only have time here, so let's just make the best of it. If you're in finals mode, just dig in. Just call yourself into a routine and stick with it. I find that if I don't plug it in my calendar, it's not going to get done. Cindy, like it will
Yeah.
not get done. I could talk about it, think about it all day, but if I don't have it written down and alert reminding me, it's not going to get done. So now I plug it in. Okay, I've got my morning runs. I'm going to wake up at 6 in the morning and then I have my breakfast and then I do my whatever like casework I can muster up, I do that. And I just, even if I have TV time, like it's in my calendar because I want to be able to look at a routine and remind myself that time isn't just a social construct, right? Like at 3 o'clock, that's my downtime. At 5 o'clock, I'm doing, whatever I'm doing. I'm on the computer researching this, or I'm reading a book, or I'm finishing puzzles. Quite frankly, like the things that can sharpen your mind here, in this situation, like depending on how much time you have, the list goes on, right? Like I'm trying to finish a 1,000 piece puzzle. I made a little gym back here. I just bought a new air fryer, so I'm working on recipes for that. So, like, but I built a routine where I'm trying to plug in and fill up my day as best as possible so that I have things to look forward to. I have tasks that, get done and I get that feeling of reward and accomplishment, even if it's little baby things, right? Like finishing a
Mhm.
puzzle. But by sticking to that routine, we're able to deal with the day to day of this situation in a more productive way. And you had asked me about tools that can help us be more productive. That just depends on your situation, right? Like we said, for students, they should be studying. If you are a young attorney, now is an excellent time to get those CLEs out. You've got to, I don't know about other states. Here in Florida, you got to register a certain amount of credits. Um, my dad's calling me. But you got
No
to finish
problem.
certain CLE credits. That's a perfect opportunity for you to just hunker down and take a couple of days to knock them out. And boom, you don't have to worry about it come 2021 or 2022 when we've got to upload our CLEs. You already got them done because you used this gift of time. Um,
Mhm.
you can always read books. I love reading books about empathy and emotional intelligence because I think to be a good advocate, you have to be a compassionate advocate. You have to be someone who is able to connect with people, not just about the law, because I mean, don't get me wrong, it's important to know the law, but so much of practicing law is counseling and understanding your client and their needs and being able to deliver them the results that are going to be best for them. And that involves emotional intelligence, and it involves a certain amount of awareness, both self and outer, that can only really be practiced. So exposing yourself to literature that sharpens those tools is an excellent benefit and an excellent use of your time. Even escaping reality for a second. You listen, like watching the news all day and getting these Twitter updates. It's not good for your mental health. Go read a fiction. Go read a novel. Go immerse yourself in a television series that you've been putting off. Don't think that because you're kind of escaping reality, you're not working or doing right for you, because that mental rest, that mental break is going to revitalize you and give you the energy to get what you actually need to get done, right? You can't just
Mm-hmm.
work for 24/7, right? All day, every day and expect to get good results. On the contrary, that's the principle of diminished returns. You're actually going to get worse results the more work you put in, whereas slow, gradual effort every day is going to get you great results, right? So
For
keeping
sure.
that in
Yeah.
mind is definitely going to be beneficial.
Yeah, and I actually went, and now that you mentioned about learning, um, it's been interesting to see how my schedule has played out. Like from before, I was struggling with keeping a stay-at-home type of mindset of working at home because I was new to me. I ended up going to a woman's business type of event, and I met some CEOs, and they what they recommended, because I told them I just moved here. Like I was very gutsy. I got up and everyone's like, I just moved here. I'm an immigrant. I have a small business, but I'm like struggling and trying to find, because I want to have my career. We talked about this. I talked about with you what I want to do in the future and what should I do. And they said, well, during this time, especially because it's a very unpredictable, you need to find time to just go back to the basics, relearn and learn and sharpen those skills. What is it that you're going want to do in the future? What you envision? Go back and especially when you're talking about human connection and how you're going to build, those newly found ways of connecting to people online and still being able to build meaningful relationships or keep in touch with those that you care about. It's good for you to go back to the basics of whatever skill or tool or practice you want to be in, and start from scratch, because those a lot of other things are changing. Like for me, I do a lot of web design for people, and I have to go back and to the basics and like remind myself other things, or like see in what ways e-commerce is changing every day, in what ways are upcoming people who are going to be buying from stores or from restaurants going to be doing. So for me, it's like going back and understanding how that's going to be playing out during the pandemic and how that's going to be affecting our future customers. So like that's something that I'm trying to work on, and it's been interesting to have that kind of opportunity right now to do that. So it's
That's
taken a
excellent advice, because I mean, you're
yeah.
absolutely right. Like fundamentals in any skill, whether it's law or what have you, it's so important to make sure you just have that down, because that really a sets you up right for your passions, and you're able to really have fun with it once you have the fundamentals down.
Yeah.
And not only that, it keeps you sharp, like you said, like especially in this unpredictable time. Like it's important that we keep that basic foundation of what we do every day alive and
Hmm.
fed. So that is really good advice. I love that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Like fundamentals in any skill, whether it's law or what have you, it's so important to make sure you just have that down, because that really a sets you up right for your passions, and you're able to really have fun with it once you have the fundamentals down.
Yeah.
And not only that, it keeps you sharp, like you said, like especially in this unpredictable time. Like it's important that we keep that basic foundation of what we do every day alive and
Hmm.
fed. So That is really good advice. I love that.
Yeah. And I do have some more questions, but for those who are just joining us, we're talking about taking courage in Corona during this time. And if you have any questions, please comment on the comment box and we will answer them today for you. So I do have a couple more questions for you, Gigi. You mentioned for those that are studying what they should do. I know that we talked about yesterday with Jessica a little bit about the bar exam, and if you can give us or any way of how you dealt with stress when you were taking the bar exam. I mean, what did you do? Especially like, can you relate to like maybe like what is it that you would do at home? Did you study at home? How did that look like for you when you were taking the bar exam?
So I actually, I had so much fun taking the bar. I took it twice. So I have a lot of experience studying for the bar. Well, I'm someone, I've always been athletic. I played basketball from when I was a kid. So the way my mind works when I'm setting up goals, I like to think of it in terms of sports and like training for sports. So if I knew I had a big tournament coming up, okay, well, what do I got to do? I know I've got to get my bank shot down. What am I doing to get my bank shot down? I'm hitting 100 rights and 100 lefts. I'm making sure I'm hitting the right part of the backboard every single time so that when I'm in the game, I'm visualizing, I can visualize what I need to do because I practiced it so much and I'm able to nail it without pressure. And I try to take that mentality and apply it the same way to studying, right? So if I've got the bar exam, what I did personally, I had the bar exam in July. So, I know that fitness is important to me. It's important for me to clear my mind. It's definitely like a therapy for me, absolutely. And I knew that if I didn't have that athletic release while I was studying, I wasn't going to get the results I needed. So
Yeah.
first, I developed a calendar that allowed me to get my studying in and also be able to work out and have the downtime that I need to recover mentally, right? So, and also I had the benefit of not having to work. I made sure to save up and get whatever loans I had to get in order to be successful and just focus on studying instead of anything else. So my rent was covered, my car was covered, all of that. I thought ahead of it. But what I would do is I was up at 5 o'clock every morning. I'd go to the 5:30 a.m. Orange Theory fitness classes. By 7 o'clock, I was in the library. I would work from 7 to 11 was essay writings. Then I would take a lunch break, and then I would do review sessions, and I would start MBE, and that's how my day looked every day, with some nuances, obviously, and focus points. But generally, that's what I was doing. I was waking up, working out, sit in the library, have my daily tasks that I have to hit before I can leave. If I hit them earlier, great. I have that much more time to relax. If not, I have to sit there till it gets done. I go have a little dinner, watch TV, go to bed, do it all over again. And sometimes, most times, I felt like a hamster in a wheel, just kind of doing the same thing over and over. And that would be really discouraging to me. But what I kept in mind was that I had this goal I wanted to meet. I wanted to pass the bar exam. I wanted to be a lawyer, and that helped fuel me. And also that routine and that sense of, okay, understand that this is 8 weeks down, and in a couple more weeks we'll be done. Okay, 5 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And I would have celebration points too, right? Like if I got a really good essay, I'd have a really nice dinner. Like I'd probably get like pad thai or something like really like juicy and good. Good pad thai is my stress food, but yeah, that was my way of giving myself little rewards as I went to keep myself encouraged and keep myself motivated, right? Because, actually we had a really nice conversation yesterday about the benefits of failures, right?
Yes.
So using these failures, like, okay, there were plenty of tests I failed, plenty. And, that did get me down, but then taking those failures and using them as lessons and learning what I did wrong and how I can improve and actually implementing those strategies and seeing myself improve was worth celebrating and is always worth celebrating. So taking that time to acknowledge that I could do better, but also that I am getting better, was pivotal for me in my studying habits. So I encourage that. Just calendars, sticking to it, and being positive throughout it is the best way
Yeah.
to get to the bar, because I don't the alternative is Cindy, like going through it miserable. right? You got to do it. If you want to be a lawyer, you got to take the bar, right? There's no other way around it. I would have found that way if there was. There isn't. So you might as well cultivate the best possible mental attitude in order to propel yourself through it.
Yes, for sure. And that's really good advice. Yeah, because I think especially when you think, oh my gosh, and maybe I'm a bar, retaker, or my first semester of law school didn't go so hot, and then the pandemic hit, and I'm in my second semester of law school. Like, what it is learning and the failure and rising above, and just staying staying true to yourself, staying true to what you want to accomplish, and changing your mindset from I failed, but to I can succeed because others have done it. I'm capable and I'm willing to do it. And changing that mindset that it can be done, and it's just taking care of yourself physically. It helps you with your mental state too. So I
Yes.
definitely agree with that. It's awesome that we're talking about this now. And I know that we've been kind of talking about like attorneys, like how you're dealing, and now we're in like those are taking the bar exam. So I think we're working backwards here, but for
Forever
who
Benjamin buttoning it.
uh, lost this, I'm like I've been thinking about the 1Ls. Like I've been thinking about, I mean, as a 2L and 3L, like things were still, always difficult in their own way. But I think I knew the routine around studying for a bar exam. I knew how I learned, figured out what to do, and studying became much easier. Taking even at home exams were much easier compared to my 1L year. So maybe let's talk a little bit about those who are maybe on their 1L year. With the pandemic, what are some things looking back, maybe looking a little while back into your
a
one,
little while, a little while back. Yeah.
how did you manage studying for your final exams during that time?
So yeah, I was one of those students where 1L year hit me like a ton of bricks. I'd always been, an A minus, B plus student. I did put effort into studying and working, but I always felt like my grades, they did reflect my effort. And so when I went into law school, I didn't realize how much I would actually have to change my approach in order to be successful. So that first semester hurt my feelings, Cindy. Let's just say that. I got a real quick reality check that what I was doing was not the right way to go. What did I do from first semester to second semester differently? I think that's what's important. Um, First semester, I was like typing every single word the professor would say, right? So I was totally tracking with them. I could have, if I had in my study guide, if I told you I had a transcript of her, like of what they said in every single class, I probably did. But I found that even though I had that, it wasn't a good resource because I wasn't channeling the right mental energy into being present in class, right? And I think that's a mistake a lot of students make, especially the younger ones who are used to being on their computers and doing everything, right? They're able to type and catch everything. And, the fact that you can even do that tells you that you're smart, right? That you're paying attention and you're listening, but you're not putting forward the right effort, the right type of energy in order to really understand the material, right? So I found that by shifting from the computer to just jotting down the important things. I still had my computer, but I wasn't vigorously writing. I would listen, I would have my notes out, and then I'd come check too. And my grades improved exponentially. Like it was like a different student, and it's because I was putting forward the right mental energy. So my best advice for 1L students, like I always tell them what I did wrong because I think that's really, really helpful. Because all the right things, like you can ask the law review students what they do. They are on it, right? They have the calendars, they have their routines, they pay attention in class, their notes are on point. They are talking and breathing the law. My little sister, she's top 10 in her law school, and she's the boss.com, and she's always thinking about the law and thinking about how it plays out in society and also in the coursework that she's doing. So those are awesome study habits, but more importantly, being real with what works for you and what doesn't work for you that's what makes a successful student successful. My younger
Yeah.
sister, she didn't need that. that kick in the butt like I did, right? Like she went in there knowing that she needed to keep an open mind and adapt to this new situation. I was more stubborn. So my best advice is just go in with an open mind, leave bad habits at the door, and be able to pick up new, better habits that serve you better in the long run.
Yes, that's just really good advice. And I was in the same boat with you. My first semester did not go. I mean that was that student that I didn't have to when it came to like science and stuff, because I tell us I was pre-med before, like I had to really study. But when it came to like liberal arts, writing, reading, understanding comprehension, that was like so easy, getting A's in college. And then coming to law school, I was just shocked that everyone, I knew I was a bit smart, and I had this imposter syndrome of, oh my gosh, am I good enough? But I expected myself to do well. And then my first semester, I didn't understand myself and how I learned. And that that was a really big, like humongous slap to me
Oh
to
yeah.
realize what I needed to do. And in the long run, it was so helpful to me to say, you don't need some things that others might need, and that's okay. You might
Yes.
not do what others might. And then when I hated hearing people telling me, do what works for you, but it really
Yeah.
worked for me. And when people say that, what they really mean is, look at the way that you're memorizing. Is it working for you? Look at the way that you're reading. When you're reading, is it making sense to you? And if you are getting overwhelmed by everything you have to read, do you really need to read everything, or do you need to go straight to the point? And then do you need to analyze um, what types of supplementals might actually work for you? Because some people prefer like making note cards, and that was not my thing. So some people prefer to pick up, like I for me was like the LexisNexis, um, the books that kind of provide you what like civil rights, for example, would be like. It gave you like the black letter law and explain it to you. Like for me, I picked that up when I needed something to supplement myself. Like, and I'm not talking about the class. I'm talking about like one small subject in the class. And so it's just very important to pick up those details for yourself, and just mm, understand it, understand something, and prepare yourself for the exam and outlining. It was just so important to learn that, for how that worked for me, because my outline looked very different than somebody else's outline,
Yeah.
and how I remember cases. A lot of my stuff was like black letter law, because I remember facts easy, but the black letter law was the hardest part for me. So that was how what worked for me. So I hope that those are one. I feel for the one else. I mean, having to work from home, for me, I lived at the library. Like that was my home, and I just hope that you're finding upperclassmen that will help you. There's other attorneys that like on here on Lawtina, who are willing to also help you and kind of work through that with you. And don't be afraid to say, well, I don't know how to even build my schedule. There are people who can try to help you with that too. So I do have it looks like we have a question. Oh, it was a question. How do you learn how to study? That's kind of like what we're discussing a little bit. I think it depends per class too, because I don't think, for example, I studied for criminal law as I would have studied for contracts. Like I didn't study the same way for one or the other. Contracts, I remember, or even tort law, I remember those were more analysis based. Like, what am I looking at? What does it pertain? First, is it a service or is it a product type of thing?
Yeah.
So those were like like a lot of practicing for the exams. I would pick up old exams and I would write them out. I would just write them out, and I would time myself too, just to make sure that I was, once I figure out the strategy of what writing a law school exam would look like. But for something like um what did I mention? What was the first class that I mentioned? I forgot.
Criminal law torts.
Well, sorry.
Criminal law, contracts, and I think you went to
Oh,
torts too.
yeah, criminal law. It was mainly memorizing a lot more versus analyzing. And because if you memorize those things, then I feel like I could analyze whatever case would come my way, like how you would write out what it is that you're looking for in the case. Like I think my professor had like a strategy, and granted, criminal law is not my thing; it's your thing. So like what you're looking for in the statute, like reading those statutes, making sure that you knew what you were talking about. So it was very different. So I think it really comes with experience, and your professor will know back on how to do that. So seek out those professors. Like I was terrified of my law professor, and I talked about this yesterday. She later became one of my biggest supporters and life-changing people in my life during law school. Like I was terrified. Everyone was terrified of her. Even people because I talk about how I had classmates who were like 60 years old. I like had people who were in their 40s and 50s, and they were terrified of her. And I came into her class trying to ask for help, and I was challenging myself to like be okay, just ask for help. And I did, and she murdered like in red ink my paper, like what I wrote for her. And she was like, "This is horrible," and I started crying. And then she realized how terrified I was of her, and she hugged me, and we became best friends. And not everyone's gonna be like that, because I have had professors who are very stern and they don't change, but they do care about you. That's why they went into teaching, and don't be afraid to ask for that help. So I hope that helped for that person who were asking that. I was asking that question. Oh, I think you froze on us, Gigi. I don't know if you can hear me. Sorry, Gigi. I think we have a bad internet connection right now. There you go. Hi, can you hear me? Sorry. Yeah, there was like it was lagging, and then it froze, and then the this this screen turned pink for me. I don't know what's going on with our internet over here. Yes. Oh, I hope it's on my internet connection. I hope it we'll have this recorded well.
I don't know what's happening. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Hey.
I think the camera is turned around the
There we
other
go.
way.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
There
I
you
don't know
go.
what's happening with me today. All right, we're back. Okay.
Yes, I do. I have another question for you. And it's kind of like looking towards the future in your career and practice for yourself. And I know that we're talking about like just having courage during this time and what you're doing. And I know we're covering a lot of different age groups, because we do have a lot of age groups watching today. So what's some advice in doing that? And by the way, we might be cut off in 2 minutes. It's telling me that I think we went over a little our 1 hour session.
Oh,
So
we're not
yeah,
too
I can't believe
next.
we're talking so much. But if you need to connect, we'll reconnect quickly on here.
Do
Can
you want
you
to do
just
that now? And then that way we could just.
yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Okay, we'll
Hold on,
reconnect.
guys. Right. All right, we're tuning back in with Gigi. She'll be calling us in right now. So Instagram will limit you to 1 hour. And that's what's going on right now. That it limited us to 1 hour. We've been having some great conversations with her. about taking courage during this time and just being a go-getter during this time that we are without our usual schedule, what life really looks like. So let's see. Hi.
Hi.
Oh wow, now the picture is like super clear.
Oh, good. You know, maybe that was Instagram's way of saying, "All right, get off. You're running out of time. Get over it."
Yeah, so I know that we've gone over hours. I did have just a couple of two questions, like career and practice. What does it look like? I know the future is uncertain, but what is it that you hope for in the future, and what can we take away just from taking courage during this time and being a go-getter?
I hear you. You know, as far as my career and my life post pandemic is concerned, I'm just for now taking it day by day. I do have very strong visions for the future. I personally I also do coaching on the side, and what we like to do is something called vision statements. So every 6 months, we'll think of how we want the next 6 months to look at, like what's the end goal of those 6 months. So that's the area I'm working in because, quite frankly, this pandemic has thrown such a wrench in all of my professional and personal plans that it's just like I'm just that's the vibe. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So this is my way of cooperating with the inevitable and being honest with the situation. I straight up don't know how
Yeah.
my life is going to look this point a year from now, even 5 years from now. I do see myself being a criminal defense lawyer. I do see myself, adding another member to the family business, expanding the practice and the firm. I do see myself continuing to serve the people. I love criminal law. I can never see myself not practicing it. But I also have to be honest about what the situation is today. You know, is the law going to be what the law was when I entered? I don't know, right? I really
Mhm.
don't know. It's these virtual court hearings and learning how to be a computer lawyer. That's going to be a new challenge that I'm working on availing myself to. That's why I'm going to these webinars and I'm reading about emotional intelligence because it's going to be even harder to connect on an emotional level virtually. Like we were talking about that yesterday too, about how to best get our message to people across the computer screen when there's so many different things to contend with. It's one thing to be sitting face to face over a bowl of pasta and getting to know each other and talking about whatever issues we're talking about. And it's another to be behind a computer screen talking to someone who's also talking to their spouse and watching TV and cooking dinner and doing this and doing that. So being able to connect virtually to advocate successfully is going to be a special kind of challenge, right? Because it's one thing to
Yeah.
put on a show, put on your suit, and go to court and bang on the podium and demand discovery and do all of that. But it's another to do it virtually, right? So that's going to be a special challenge that I see really being most present in advocacy and in criminal law.
Yes, yes. Wow, and then everything is changing. I think a lot of the times when we are living our day-to-day life, we forget that what would have happened if we had a pandemic or another pandemic, and God willing we don't, but that we do have to be present on social media, especially if we do have a business. Even if you don't have a business, it's good to be in touch with your with your networking online, that you're present there too, and that looking forward to the future, it's uncertain, but sharpening those skills while we are able to at home, especially if we have the privilege to be able to work at home and stay at home. So yeah, I'm really excited to have you back again, Gigi, and this has been so great to hear you and what you're doing right now, what's going on with criminal law right now and the criminal defense side of things, and
Thank
understanding
you.
what's going on in Miami. Thank you so much for me
Thank
being
you
with.
so
I
much,
know
Cindy.
that if anyone has any questions, you can contact me or Gigi. Her handle is Gigi the Kid, and she is tagged on our Instagram stories. And we're just kind of recapping everything else. Hopefully, we'll have Gigi back with us in the future here. And I really appreciate your time today, Gigi. Nice to talk to you and stay in touch with us.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, like I told you, this is an amazing platform for women like us, and to be able to have these conversations in our community is so important. So I'm a friend to everybody here. Add me on Instagram. We can have a conversation if you need me, want any advice, or just want someone to knock an idea off of. Hit me up. I'm happy to talk. So thank you so much, Cindy, for doing this and inviting me on. Have a good one.
Bye.